and welcome to the therapist edition of Ask Dr. Talal. My name is Dr. Talal Al Salim. I'm the creator of Systematic Affair Recovery Therapy and the founder of the Infidelity Counseling Center. And I'm so excited to share with you this new therapist edition of Ask Dr. Talal. So, just to give you a little bit of background, I've been receiving a lot of requests from couples counselors and relationship coaches who were interested in learning more about infidelity counseling and infidelity recovery. So, the idea behind this segment is just really to create specific mini presentations designed just for couples, therapists, and relationship coaches to get some basic understanding of some of the important concepts in infidelity counseling. So, in this first four-part series, we're going to talk about a very important topic. That topic is online affairs and how we treat them. So, I'm going to share with you some of the information that we're going to go through and you're going to encounter in this four-part presentation. We're going to go over some important background information that you need to know about online affairs. We're going to talk about how do we define infidelity in general and how do we define online infidelity in particular. We're also going to talk about the relationship between the advances in technology and infidelity behavior. We will also learn about the different outlets that people use for engaging in online affairs and some of the signs that you need to be looking for and use as an indication of somebody is actually engaged in online infidelity. And the last part of the series, we're going to talk about some of the unique treatment challenges for cyber infidelity and online affairs. So let's get to it. This is an interactive format, so I'm hoping that you feel comfortable asking me any questions about the material that we're going to go over today. And we'll be keeping an eye on your comments in the chat box. So there are three important facts that I would like you to remember when you think about online infidelity. Fact number one is that cyberspace and technology permeate all aspects of our life and social interaction. Just to illustrate this point, I'm going to share with you some statistic, and this is from 2013, right? So almost 10 years old, about people's use of technology. In that survey, it shows that 85% of adults use the internet, 88% use email, 91% own cell phone, 56% own smartphones, and 67% uses social network sites, and 15% of the population use online dating website. Now, I would imagine that these numbers have doubled or tripled in 2022, which mean, again, the use of technology is something that we rely on daily basis, something that we almost can say we can't live without. Fact number two, virtual infidelity can be just as damaging to relationship and individual well-being, just as much as real-life infidelity. There was a recent survey from the American Association of Matrimonial Lawyers. They found that there is a growing numbers of divorce cases that cite internet infidelity in general and Facebook infidelity in particular as a cause of divorce. So in that survey, they found that 1/3 of divorce cases contain the word Facebook. Now, again, Facebook is old school. There's a lot of new platforms now, but this is going to highlight how many relationships have ended because of inappropriate online behavior. Fact number three, there is a lack of clinical resources for the effective assessment and treatment of cyber affairs. There was a recent survey of US-based marriage and family therapists that have found 73% of the people surveyed felt that their programs, their graduate programs, did not train them to effectively identify, assess, and treat online infidelity, which is one of the main reasons that I'm hoping to make this information accessible so that you all have the tools that you need to help your clients navigate how to heal from online infidelity. So as I mentioned in part one of this series, we're going to be talking about definition and how to define cyber infidelity. Online affairs and cyber infidelity is similar to any form of infidelity in the sense that it's really difficult to define. And this has to do with the fact that people hold different opinions on what's constitute uh, online infidelity and what constitutes just inappropriate online behavior. So there are two unique challenges to defining cyber infidelity. The first one has to do with the fact that cyberspace is really considered to be a new frontier, and it's evolving in a very rapid pace. Almost every day there is a new site, there is a new app, there is a new technology. And prior to having cyberspace, there's nothing that is similar to it that kind of help us use as a reference point, to help us kind of make a distinction of what's considered to be appropriate in the real world versus in the virtual world. Another issue related to this uncharted territory is that couples oftentimes don't talk about what they're expecting from one another when it comes to what's appropriate and inappropriate behavior in general. But more specifically, most people don't take the time early on in the relationship to set the boundaries about what you expect from your partner in their virtual interactions. The only exception of that is that they wait when something bad happened and then they actually have the discussion, because prior to that, they're operating under the assumption that it was implied. And that's why I encourage all my clients to not only always be aware of what their partner is expecting in terms of exclusivity, and also making sure that they are reevaluating their expectation from one another. Another challenge for defining cyber infidelity is the ambiguity of virtual interactions. What do I mean by this? Uh, so to put this to the test, I'll just give a list of behaviors, and just to highlight that these are behaviors that some people will agree as infidelity and other people's going to think it's something okay. For example, if I ask you, do you think friending an ex-partner or ex-spouse is a form of infidelity? Some of you might say yes, and some of you might say no, based on your worldview, based on your relationship experience. Another example: what about friending an attractive member or accepting a friend request from an attractive member? Is that infidelity? What about sending private messages to the opposite sex? What about liking or hearting somebody's attractive picture on social media? Is that a form of infidelity? What about not having the correct relationship status on your profile? So, as you can see, just based on these few examples, most people are going to struggle into actually having consensus of what constitute infidelity, which again, having this ambiguity make it difficult for people to actually nail down a definition of online infidelity that they can agree to. So what's the big deal? Why is it important to have an agreed upon definition for infidelity in general, or for cyber infidelity? Think of it this way: if you're a clinician, couples counselor, or relationship coach, why are people coming to see you? Well, they're coming to see you because they have a problem that they need help with. Well, the first step in the treatment process should be an agreement of what we call this problem. Because if they're coming to see you for infidelity and you called it something else, then you minimize a big problem. If it wasn't infidelity and you called it infidelity and you just exaggerated a smaller problem, which means that being able to be on the same page on what we call this problematic behavior that brought us to counseling in the first place is going to guide the whole process, because the label that we choose to put on this problem is going to actually determine what steps that we're going to take to fix it. So in a nutshell, the operational definition of infidelity is a crucial element for clinical formulation and establishing the therapeutic alliance. So I'm going to share with you the definition that I have created for infidelity. But before I give you that definition, let me just give you a background story in terms of what is the context of this definition. This definition is really based on my belief and our ability to live alone and fulfill our own emotional and sexual needs. Can we do it? Sure. Like, can I survive on tofu? Of course I can. It becomes an issue of quality of life. So just because I can live alone and fulfill my emotional and sexual needs doesn't mean that we don't have need for partnership. I think, to have a better quality of life, you need to share your life with somebody else who can help fulfill some of those emotional and sexual needs that you have. Life becomes more fulfilling this way, which means that any relationship between significant others should have an agreed upon contract that identify how many people we have in this relationship. Is it one? Is it two? Is it 20? It needs to highlight what are the type of emotional and sexual needs that are expected to be fulfilled within the confine of this relationship, and also to what extent the fulfillment of those needs is exclusive to the partners that we have in this relationship. So, what does that make infidelity? Infidelity becomes a conscious breach of contract of exclusivity with the partners that you have in the relationship. It's engaging in any need fulfilling behavior outside the relationship without the consent of the current partners. So the beauty of this definition is what is that it is something that you can use for a variety type of relationship, meaning that this is not just for people who are in a traditional monogamous relationship, because believe it or not, people in open relationship or polyamory or consensual non-monogamy, they do infidelity as well. It just looks different in their situation. So this definition can be applied for many different types of relationships, but also it gives you a moral buffer when your clients are asking you to make a judgment call on what they're bringing to the table, because they're going to ask you, what do you think, therapist? Is this infidelity or is it not infidelity? So when Dr. Al Salim says, yes, this is infidelity, he's not saying this because this is his worldview and value system or his spiritual belief. This is based on your own unique relationship contract. So give you that moral buffer to make a judgment call on infidelity without having to worry about your clients thinking that you're imposing your own worldview upon them. So this is the definition of infidelity. This is the definition that you can apply to cyber infidelity as well. So one thing I always tell people is that whatever the parameter of exclusivity that you have from your partner in the real world should carry over in the virtual world. Doing it online, it doesn't mean it's not infidelity, right? So whatever those exclusivity need fulfillment that you want from your partner, they should apply that whether it's in person or virtually. So this means that the specific type of the need driving the act of infidelity is what dictates the type of affair people are going to have. So broadly speaking, there are two main categories of need fulfillment in relationship. There is emotional needs and there is sexual needs. So based on this combination, you could end up with three type of online affairs. You can end up with sexual affairs, emotional affairs, or mixed affairs. But keep in mind, even though we say that there are some affairs that are primarily sexual and ones that are primarily emotional, there is nothing that where it's 100% one way or the other. So even in the sexual affairs, where then primary needs being fulfilled is sexual satisfaction, there is an emotional payoff of somebody feeling good that they actually got that needs met. So there is nothing that's 100% purely sexual, 100% purely emotional. When you put this label as an emotional sexual, you're thinking about primarily sexual, primarily emotional. Um, so hopefully this part one helped give better clarity about the challenges of defining infidelity and help you walk away with a better definition of infidelity that you can use with your clients. I look forward to seeing you in part two, in which we're going to talk about other important aspects about online infidelity that you need to learn about. Also, keep in mind that there is an in-depth course called Cyber Infidelity on my training platform, and you'll find the link in the comment section below if you're interested in learning about this topic in more details. You can actually earn up to 3 hours of continuing education credit if you take that course. So until then, be well, be safe, and embrace the possibility for a brighter future. Take care.